Yeah, now I am clear. I hope you are all receiving my voice. Today, we will see I.A. Richards' four kinds of meaning. I hope you all known well of I.A. Richards. See, there is a criticism that is what we call as new criticism. Now, when we touch a glossary of literary terms by M.H. Abrams, in this book, there are 4 or 5 pages exclusively talking about this new criticism. I hope you all know well what is the meaning of new criticism. Just now, I spoke you regarding the meaning. If you say any example, for example, mobile phone, if I say the example, when we ask meaning of that instrument, we simply say mobile phone, but we could not say what does it mean. No, mobile phone is an electronic device that uses for transmitting messages via internet. And this is what meaning. Here what I am going to say, the meaning is a meaning of a meaning. I hope you understand the meaning is a meaning of a meaning. This is what the new critics who has been talking about. This is otherwise called as a reader response theory. I hope you understand this reader response theory. Yes, the reader response theory is started with new critics. There are 2 types of new critics, American new critics, English new critics. I'll tell you, American new critics, English new critics. Wilson Knight, F.R. Lewis, or English new critic. Even I.A. Richards is also English critic. Few critics who belongs to American new critic. I'll tell you. But here only we talk about this I.A. Richards 4 kinds of meaning, and where we see closely this close reading of a text. The strategy. Definitely you may expect one mark question. The strategy of new critic, that is nothing but reading a textbook closely. This is what I call it reader response theory. This is what I say, how we call regarding this new approach of reading a text. And this is a strategy. And whereby the meaning, as German Dessar has sent the 4 meanings. Sense, tone, intention, feeling, and intention. There are 4 meanings. The 4 meanings as 4 functions. That's what he has told. I.A. Richards has told. Is it? And now I will give you little bio note of I.A. Richards. And we know that his name is very popular. Ivor Armstrong Richards. Full name is Ivor Armstrong Richards. And he was an influential 20th century literary English critic. And he is a linguist. And he is a philosopher. Of course, he had no formal English training, especially in literature. But he was specialized in philosophy, which means his subject where he studied in Cambridge University is philosophy. But actually, he is very interested in basic English and poetry. He's very much interested. This is the way that he has been talking about this essay four kinds of meaning. The another essay, no, there are another essay also. See, in China, there was a university, Tingchuak, that's the name of the university, where he was a professor, a visiting professor. And he taught basic English and poetry in the university located in Beijing, China. Is it he died 1979? See the recent critic. And also in China, there was an institute, Orthological Institute of China, Orthological Institute of America, where he worked as a director of that institute, which means he and his close friend, what we call taught basic English in different universities. One is China, the other is US. This is a simple bio note of I.A. Richards. And his work, I told you, the collaborative work. I.A. Richards published a work that is titled as Meaning of a Meaning. Just now I told you, meaning of a meaning is how you have to connotate, how you have to denotate, how you have to associate the meaning of a meaning. For example, if I say fan, F-A-N, fan. Actually, we say, what is a fan? Tell me the meaning of the fan. If I ask you, we all say again fan. But we don't say the meaning of a meaning. Is it? And now I am giving you an example. Fan is an electrical equipment. When it is supplied electrical power, it activates, it works, and by and large, we get air. This is the meaning. I hope you understand what I'm telling. This is what I call it the meaning of a meaning. The meaning is a meaning of a meaning. That is a text, voluminous text that he published in 1923. That is collaboratively with Ogden. Ogden is a close friend of whom I.A. Richards. And he is also a new critic. Belongs to English. Is it? And it has a subtitle, Meaning of a Meaning as a subtitle. And one set examination, I found this question. Who wrote the meaning of a meaning? This question I found, I.A. Richards. Now, what's the subtitle of that text? The voluminous text, Meaning of a Meaning, a study of influence of language upon thought and the science of symbolism. That is a subtitle. Now I am marking you. I am marking you. This is a subtitle. This is a subtitle of that Meaning of a Meaning, published by I.A. Richards in 1923. And one more book is very famous book, Practical Criticism. I will explain you. I told you that I.A. Richards is a professor. He taught basic English in two different universities. One is US, the other university is China. Is it what care I am going to give you? When he was in an MA class, being a visiting professor, and he distributed poems to the students. The poem has not the title, has not the name of the writer, but he has distributed different poems to the students and make them to analyze the poems. And by and large, he found a new theory, new approach, that is a practical criticism. This is an experiment that he conducted in the classroom. I.A. Richards. This is a way that you see the laid of what we call the groundwork of new criticism. It's one of the best book, Practical Criticism by I.A. Richards in 1929. And another book, this information that I took from M.H. Abraham's Glossary of Literary Terms. That another book, Principles of Literary Criticism, 1924. These two books, just now I told you, Practical Criticism and the Principles of Literary Criticism. These two books, companion volumes, sisterly volumes, companion volumes, published by I.A. Richards. These two books, which develops critical thinking of a reader. A reader who should enhance the critical thinking of a reading a particular text, whereby a reader has meaning. This is, I told you, the meaning is the meaning of a meaning. I hope you understand that. And the next book is a Foundation of Aesthetics, 1922. I told you Richard Ogden, O-G-D-N, Ogden. He is a close friend. Both of them collaboratively published a few works. Foundation of Aesthetic is a collaborative work by Ogden and I.A. Richards. That another book, The Philosophy of Rhetoric in 1936. It's also a famous book. And Basic English is one of the best book, Basic English. You see that Basic English book that was collaboratively published by Richard and Ogden. Definitely you have. I found one question in earlier TRB question. Who published Basic English? That the two writers, Ogden and Richards. It has subtitle also, this book, Basic English. This book has subtitle. What's the subtitle? The General Basic English Dictionary and Times of India Guide to the Basic English. That is the title of the book, subtitle of the book. Now I am showing you. Now I am bolding you these things. Because that what is the subtitle of the book titled as Basic English. And also this is very important what I am going to say. I.A. Richards has made a translation of Plato's Republic in Basic English. Of course, Plato's Republic written in English with the influence of Greek. But I.A. Richards has made his version in 1942 that he published Plato's Republic in a Basic English. It's very, very important. No, this maybe you expect one mark question. And the next one is Coleridge and Imagination. This is also another question I found in TRB. Coleridge and Imagination, 1934. Interpretation and Teaching, 1938. Actually, what they do, these new critics, not only I.A. Richards, J.C. Ransom, Alan Tate, Kenneth Brooks, so many people, Ogden, F.R. Lewis, Wilson Knight, so many people who are belonging to the world of new criticism. What is their strategy? As I told you what because how I.A. Richards adapted experiments in the classroom. When he is in the classroom of an MA English or MA Philosophy, and where what class he taught something to the students, that is an experiment. And that experiment, what he found is something close reading skills. Which means what because a reader who has to deeply read. That's what we call as intensive reading. That enhances critical thinking. Am I clear? Am I clear in voice? Prasanna Rasi?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir, now.
Okay, nice. Now we will move this the strategy of new critics, nothing but close reading skills. So that we call it the theory. What is that? A reader response. A reader would give response of his own reading. This is what the Germander sir has told, sense, tone, feeling, intention. These things that I told you regarding taken from the practical criticism. It is nothing but enhancing the analytical powers of the readers. The reader alone can give meaning, a sole meaning of a text. Suppose if I give you poem, any poem, that you are the reader, you should have to give the meaning as a reader alone. This is what I call it a close reading skills. I hope you understand that. This is a movement New criticism is a movement, literary movement that has begun, that showing their strategy of emphasizing close reading text. And this is a way that what we class a new criticism has been what we class flourishing. And of course, the term new criticism is coined by J.C. Ransom. No, definitely you will have question that actually here I wrongly given what we here according M.H. Abraham's books, it is 1941. The book titled as a New Criticism. New Criticism published in 41. And the term coined by whom? J.C. Ransom. This is come under the practical criticism, the experiment, what he done in the classroom, in the postgraduate classroom. And I told you, J.C. Ransom, Kenneth Brooke, Wimsatt, T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis, Emerson, I.A. Richards are all English new critic. J.C. Ransom, Kenneth Brooke, Wimsatt, T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis, Emerson are all what we call as a chief. They are all very important new critic. But when we touch with what we call as a what is that American new critic, Alan Tate. I'll come what we call as when I talk you that literary movements regarding this. And now, I hope you understand that when I.A. Richards is a professor of English, at that time when he was in the classroom, he adopted a practical test in the classroom. By and large, what a response that students has given, that is what he calls protocols. This is also one of the question in TRB. He has gone to the classroom and he has distributed the poems to the students and asked the students to read out the poem individually and give the meaning. By and large, the meaning, the response given by the students, that what I.A. Richards called these things as protocol. Am I clear? Am I clear? Sethu Madhavan came to the class. Am I clear?
Yes, clear, sir. Yes, clear.
Sethu Madhavan, please ensure your mic, I'm unable to listen your voice.
Yes, sir. Now, sir, now are you able to hear my words?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I understand your words, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh. Okay, nice. See, now we will enter into the background of this text. I.A. Richards, the background of the text. See, I told you that Richard is an English literary critic. No, English literary critic. Originally, his ideas, what we class like Coleridge. Moreover, I told you that Coleridge is a philosopher than a poet. But Coleridge says Wordsworth is a poet than a philosopher. The language of Wordsworth is Shepherd's. The language of Coleridge is a philosopher. So that what we can say, I.A. Richards is very much interested in philosophy of Coleridge. Very much interested in philosophy. And that what he has laid on the part of literary criticism is a practical foundation of methodology of new criticism. As I told you, that close reading of a text is a strategy. All new critics, the approach, what approach? Reader response theory. A reader alone can take meaning of a text. And this is what I call it a new strategy. The strategy of a new critic. I hope you understand what I'm telling. Here, the another part that see, besides, I.A. Richards was a mentor and a teacher. He's a teacher. There are so many students, like critics like William Epson. You have another piece of the critical text, that 7 types of ambiguity by Emerson. He's a student of I.A. Richards. Is it? F.R. Lewis, Kenneth Brooks. Is it? Ellen Tate. Ellen Tate is what we call as American critic. Wimsott, American critic. Blackmore, American critic. R.S. Crane, American critic. These critics is called as Chicago School. Chicago School, otherwise called as a new criticism in American movement. Sethu Madhavan, am I clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
See, now we will move. No, the next part. I hope you may understand very closely. Here, I'll start the text, the four kinds of meaning. As in the very beginning, that German sir has shared a message that see what are all the four meanings. This essay has another title, Four Functions of a Language. Four meanings, that were four kinds of meaning. Four functions of a language. That's what otherwise we call it. The four function is a four meaning. That what he received the answer from the students is called as protocols. Now see that you have to give a poem to the reader, not you force. I'm a writer. I won't force readers to take the meaning at what I'm telling. This is not a strategy of the new critics. It tend to locate the poem in the reader response. You have to tend to locate the poem by the reader alone. Why? Because the poem today is existing on the part of the reader. If there will be no reader, poem cannot exist. Of course, we are all what we call as indebted to read a poem. That what poem says, a poem is a form of a words, according to I.A. Richards. What I.A. Richards says, poetry is a form of a words. Any word that has been what we call as made in the poem, that organizes our attitude. What I.A. Richards says. Of course, the words of a poem that organizes our attitude is a pseudo statements, false statements. Of course, if you take any poetry, the poetry which depend upon this pseudo statements, of course it is effective. When we make words of a poem, if it is a pseudo statement, pseudo means false. That is too effective on the part of the reader. But we here I.A. Richards talks about a close reading of a text. Close reading of a text. Why I am telling? All the new critics giving importance to irony. Of course, they value irony. They give importance to irony. Without irony, the poem cannot be existing on the part of the reader. Irony values the poem. This is another point that new critics had. Now, without irony, I'll tell you the example, that you see in Julius Caesar, where Shakespeare says, what he says, you too, Brutus, when Julius Caesar was murdered by Marcus Brutus. This is what we call as ironical meaning. And also the another meaning, when Mark Antony defended against Marcus Brutus, he says, what he says, Caesar was an ambitious, Brutus says. Wonderful expression. Caesar was an ambitious, Brutus says. Brutus is an honorable man. It's an ironical word. The irony. This is the way that new critics was given whom? The values of irony. This is what I call it pseudo statement. Of course, the four kinds of meaning is talking about the functions of a language. Sense is a function. Feeling is a function. Tone is a function. Intention is a function. It's a function of a language. Of all four meanings, what he founded out of his experiment done in the classroom. I hope you understand. Here, I.A. Richards talks clearly about functions of a language. The four meaning are all functions of a language. A poem which has a function. That function, out of this, we get it what we class according reader response, sense, feeling, tone, intention. I hope you understand. Is it? Basically, here what I.A. Richards has been talking, the function of a meaning. That function has to perform the language. This is what the introductory part of I.A. Richards' four kinds of meaning. But here I am going to tell you about what we class one by one the functions, one by one the four kinds. The first kind is a sense. Sense. We usually speak whether you have sense or not. Here, if you take any poem, what does the poet speaks is a sense. What does the poet conveys is a meaning, is a sense. If you take any poem, Road Not Taken, in Road Not Taken, what does Robert Frost speaks is a sense. What does the author, the writer, the poet, what he conveys literally, that is a sense. Definitely, you may expect questions. What does it mean? Sense, you love question. Sense is nothing but what does the writer speaks in a poem. What does the writer says in the poem? What does the writer conveys in the poem? That is a sense. Literally, I am speaking. This is a way that the poet arouses the thought of the reader. This is what I call it a reader response. I hope you understand what I am telling regarding the first function of a poetry. The first meaning of a poetry. That is nothing but a sense. Language is very straightforward. Of course, the new critics' language is very straightforward. That is a descriptive. There are four kinds of discourse. Narrative, that's narration. Description, descriptive. Expository, explanation. And argumentative. I.A. Richards' ideology of sense and a poem is in descriptive. The language is not poetic, of course. The language is not poetic. When you value irony, when you value what we call paradoxes, the words that what I am telling in the poem as a poet, as a writer, these words are directly to the whom one who hear the poem, which affects them, definitely which affects them. By and large, a reader can get a meaning. By and large, the reader can get a meaning. This is what I am telling about what is that sense. Now we will move feeling. I hope you understand what does it mean feeling. Feeling is what we call an emotional attitude towards a subject. What does the poet speaks in the poem is sense that what I told you already, but the attitude, the emotional attitude of the poet is a feeling. Any attitude, emotional attitude, that is towards a subject. Any subject that the poet may mention. This is otherwise what we call as the attachment and the detachment of the subject. How a writer who has shown his feeling of attachment and the feeling of a detachment towards the subject of the poem. It is otherwise we call it, it is simply the expression of the poet. The expression of the poet. The expression of the writer. What does the poet expresses? That is nothing but feeling. What we call in lyric is a single emotion. Lyric is a single emotion. Here what I am telling, it is an expression. And also it is a attachment and the detachment of the writer's feeling. I hope you understand what I am telling. Here the speaker, the writer who uses the language to express his views. Of course, any poet you take it, they express their views in terms of using language, using the diction. whereby they show their emotional attitude towards a subject. This is what a feeling I'm telling according I.A. Richards. The language is emotive, of course. You take the example of a drama of Shakespeare's Macbeth. No, the dialogue spoken by Lady Macbeth when arranging what we call as the murder of Duncan. Is it? It's too literary. The language is too literary when it is emotive. The language is too poetry when it is emotive. This is the way that the reader has to express his emotional attitude towards the subject. I hope you understand. Here, what I am going to say you, meter and rhythm does not make a good poetry. Definitely. Don't think that meter alone, rhythm alone are both of us, what we call as making a good poetry. Emotion is also given equally important. Without emotion, a poem cannot be a good poetry. A poem cannot be a good, according I.A. Richards, in terms of feelings. Is it? Of course. You too, Brutus, Zindery or rhetoric, that Saranya raised a question. Actually, according in the sense of Julius Caesar believed Brutus. But what Brutus has done, he planned to murder, what we call terrifically to whom? Against Julius Caesar in one fine morning. Of course, it may not be rhetoric, of course, it's effective speech, but in the sense that, see, when he talks about you too, Brutus, it's ironical meaning. He may not expect that Brutus may come and murder him. And the best example is what Saranya is raising the question. The best example is as Mark Antony depended. What he depended? Brutus says, Marcus Brutus. Brutus says Caesar was an ambitious. Brutus is an honorable man. This is an irony. The same way, according both of them, Marcus Brutus and Julius Caesar. And I remember now, Dr. Chellappan was a former professor of Bharathidasan University. And he has given what we call 30 pages of explanation regarding this U2 Brutus. And there was a book that kept in Bharathidasan University Library regarding that how Dr. Chellappan, who was a former professor, dead in Bharathidasan University. And he is what we call giving a detailed explanation of how Shakespeare used this term, U2 Brutus. I hope you understand what I'm telling. This is the feeling of a poet. This is the feeling of the feeling of the poet can be shown by the role of Julius Caesar. I hope Saranya may understand. The next is tone. Now, tone is also what we call is nothing but what we call attitude of a speaker. Tone is nothing but the attitude of a speaker. Is it? See, here what I'm telling, the relationship between speaker and the listener. Listener is a reader. Speaker is a poet. Of course, there is a kind of a relation between both of them, where a tone refers to the attitude of the speaker towards the listener. I'm a poet. When I'm writing a poem, that how I show my attitude to the readers. This is the tone, which means no, we will maintain exactly the true relationship between myself as a poet and as a listener, the reader. This is the tone. Of course, no, there will be what we call a relationship which is shown out of that language, the diction, the way in which how poet who shows his attitude towards the listener, by and large, what we class the level of words and the level of audiences will be changed. Definitely. See the level of audience in Julius Caesar, the Rome people. The Rome people's level of audience may be understood clearly by Mark Antony. Then only Mark Antony touched the heart of the Rome people when he argued Brutus says is an honorable man. Caesar was an ambitious, Brutus says. Brutus is an honorable man. This is the way that how what we class a poet who shows what we class his attitude towards a listener. Listener here, indirectly I'm quoting about the Rome people. Which means a tone carries from listener to the listener. It varies. It definitely varies. The tone is varies to listener. You may understand differently according how Mark Antony depended. You may connote it differently according how Marcus Brutus depended. I'm telling the well-known example of Julius Caesar. But of course, there are so many examples to explain the meaning of irony. Saranya, am I clear? Saranya, am I clear? Of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. See the next law.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The intention. Intention is the purpose of the speaker. The purpose. What does the purpose of the speaker, the poet? What is his aim? Whether he is speaking consciously or unconsciously. You take it any poem where the poet who speaks consciously or unconsciously. And that is the aim of the poet. That is want to what we class to take into the reader, take into the listener. That is the purpose. That we call it intention. Here, what I am going to say, listener has to understand the speaker's purpose. I am a reader. When I am reading a poem, I have to understand the purpose of the poet. Then only I can understand the meaning of a poem. I hope you understand. I hope you listen. This is what I am telling the listener. See the next thing, if audience cannot understand his purpose, audience means here indirectly, here I.A. Richards talks about readers. Generally he calls. The audience cannot understand the purpose of the speaker. What it become? It become unsuccessful. The poem become unsuccessful. When what we class audience cannot understand the purpose of the poet. The purpose, the intention that what the poet has made in the poem cannot be understood by the audience or the reader. The speaker become unsuccessful. Speaker become unsuccessful means the work of the speaker, the purpose of the speaker, the intention of the speaker become unsuccessful. Now, this is the fourth kind of meaning. Four kinds of meaning, the fourth section. The intention of the author can be found in a dramatic or semi-dramatic literature. I told you already, from poetry, from drama, or non-fiction, dramatic, semi-dramatic literature and dramatic literature can be found exactly about when it is a form of a poem. But most of the critics who talks about poetry, earlier poetry, all the critics, and when you have these four meanings in a text, in a poem, that is what we call as four kinds of meaning. Which means these four meanings. What are the four meanings? Sense, feeling, tone. These four meanings integrated into one and make a meaning of a complete text. This is a totality of the meaning. The total meaning of the text is none other than nothing but the combination of these four meanings, the four function of a language of a poet. I hope you understand. And I'm now what we class giving you the meaning. The total meaning of a text is depend upon the four kinds of what we class meanings that what suggested by I.A. Richards. In this way, he is explaining what we class as something, what we class as interconnected, which means it is indispensable terms for explaining, whereby he has given doctrine. He what we class found out a doctrine, a principles in poetry, doctrine. No, people given different definitions of poetry. What I told you when we talk about lyrical ballads, I told you, according Wordsworth, poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Matthew Arnold speaks poetry is what we call as a kind of a criticism. You know, he says, Coleridge says, what synthetic power and magical power out of imagination and fancy. But what he says, poetry has 4 meanings. That 4 meanings integrated into one, and that is given by the poet, that constitutes the meaning of these 4 functions. That is what we call as a poetry, good poetry. I hope you understand that. So that in the very beginning I told you the meaning of a meaning, the text, out of which he is framing a doctrine, a very simple doctrine. No, Richard talks about what we call analyzing the text as a critic, and he found 2 kinds of belief and disbelief. 2 kinds of belief and disbelief. This is very, very important. Intellectual belief and emotional belief. I.A. Richards found out of this what we call as a experiment, that what he has done. No, regarding why? Because when you miss one of the meaning, that you could not get the total meaning of a poem. I hope you understand what I'm telling. And reader may not get it what we call as one meaning, and the total meaning become confused. The reader do not get sole meaning of a text. This is what I'm telling you. So what here I'm telling you, reader's temperament and personal experience will understand these 4 meanings. Of course, this varies from what we call as the readers to reader, no doubt, whereby he has given this doctrinal belief of the readers. That's 2 kinds of belief: intellectual belief and emotional belief. Intellectual belief is nothing but simply an idea based on preoccupation. The emotionals are related with what we call as mind, state of mind. An intellectual belief is based on idea. I hope you understand what I'm telling. This is what I.A. Richards who speak. And here, what I.A. Richards says, he thinks that a good kind of being becomes from the blending of the both. Of course, you blend all, which means here he talks about 2: intellectual belief and emotional belief. You blend, then only you have what we call this intellectual belief and emotional belief, whereby what we call as you are what we call as free from belief and disbelief that comes from the variation of the meaning of a poem. I hope you understand. Therefore, the reader should be very sincere to get a single meaning. The reader is to be get a single meaning, escaping from such obstacles. This is what he talks about, the doctrinal belief of intellectual belief and emotional belief. Here, when reader is genuine, sincere reader has a perfect and a genuine mind. Here I will tell you that, see how Dr. Samuel Johnson, who criticized Milton, and how he appreciated whom? Shakespeare. We need sincerity towards the text. Then only we find reader's mind is genuine. A reader is perfect. This is a way that we attain sincerity, the success. Is it done? The sincere reader, I told you, has a perfect mind, has a perfect, genuine mind, and he is free from all impurities. In this sense, the reader should be free from obstacles. From the obstacles is not possible. Obstruction. This is the way that we have to take it meaning of a text. Take it the meaning of a text. So these are all what we class the questions that what I made. What I made here, one question that I made it, I.A. Richards' most influential student is William Epson. That's an answer. Poetry is a form of word that organizes our attitude. This statement is practical criticism. This kind of question you may expect. Now I am bolding, this question, see the question. Just now I told you this statement is from either the deconstruction, speculative criticism, practical criticism, scientific criticism. But this is practical criticism. Is it? Look at that. Who among the following is not one of the chief figures in New Critics? Roland Barthes. Is it? This is what a question, that sample questions I am telling you, and likewise questions may be made during the examination. And I hope you understand the examples given here. Now I will stop recording.